The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hello children, how do you do? Hope you are healthy and happy. I want to begin the session by saying the principles of developing character. The principles of developing character are: number 1, Vichar, number 2, Achar and number 3, Prachar. Vichar, life philosophy we follow, we must learn from it. Achar, the action based on that philosophy, we must do it. And Prachar, the good conduct is displayed to the world through those actions, we must practice it. My dear children, by developing good character, we will be able to change our lives. So be always good and happy. By saying this, I move on to the session where we are going to study about chapter 4. In the previous class, we studied about plant anatomy. It is a branch of biology which deals with the study of tissues and internal structure of plants. And we came to know that there are different types of plant tissues, meristematic tissues as well as permanent tissue. The meristematic tissues, they are young and actively dividing cells, isn't it? They are also known as meristem. And we have understood about the classification of meristem based on the position. Number 1 is apical meristem. It occurs at the tips of roots and shoots. Based on that, we have seen the figure. And later on, the function of apical meristem is to increase the length of the root and shoot axis. Number 2 is lateral meristem. Meristem present along the lateral sides of the dicot stems and roots, that also we understood. And the function of lateral meristem is growth in thickness of the plant body. You can see this is lateral meristem and it is helping in the thickness of the plant body. The third one is intercalary meristem, meristem that are seen in between the mature tissue. This is intercalary meristem, between the tissue this meristem is being seen, and that also we understood. Now the next classification of meristem is based on its origin. Number 1 is primary meristem, the meristem which originates from the embryonic meristem. From the early meristem, the meristem which has been originating is known as primary meristem. They appear early in life, helps in the formation of primary plant body. Example, apical meristem and intercalary meristem. Number 2 is the secondary meristem, meristems which originate from the permanent tissue. From the permanent tissue, the meristems which are originating are known as secondary meristem, and the example of secondary meristems are cork cambium, interfascicular cambium, etc. Based on this, we have seen the figure and we understood about primary as well as secondary meristem. And number 2 is the permanent tissue, that also we understood in the previous class. A permanent tissue consists of non-dividing cells that are differentiated for various functions. And there are 2 types of permanent tissues, simple tissue and complex tissue. Simple tissue, they are made up of one type of cells and they have common function. Next one, we understood that they are classified into 3 types: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma tissues, they are having the cell wall, thin cell wall. You can see here the thin cell wall. It is made up of cellulose, either closely packed with or small intercellular space are there, and the function of parenchyma cell is photosynthesis, storage and secretion that we have seen in the previous class and we understood about it. Number 2 is collenchyma. It is also a living tissue and you can see the cell wall is thickened at the corners. In the corner only the cell wall they are thickened due to the deposition of cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. It is important. And the function of collenchyma, it provides mechanical support to the plant. Next one is the sclerenchyma. This is the third tissue. The cell walls are very thick. You can see the cell walls are very thick in the case of sclerenchyma and it is due to the deposition of lignin, and the cells are usually dead in the case of sclerenchyma. So, parenchyma and collenchyma are living cells, but sclerenchyma is the dead cells, and the function of sclerenchyma is to provide mechanical support. Now, based on the shapes, sclerenchyma are of two types, fibers and sclerids, that also we studied in the previous class. You can see here related to the fiber and sclerid we have seen, isn't it? Fibers, they are thick, walled, elongated pointed cells, whereas this is fiber, isn't it? And sclerid, they are oval, cylindrical, narrow lumen. This is oval. This is sclerid. That is the difference between fiber and sclerid in the case of sclerenchyma cells. That also we understood. Next, we learned and understand about complex tissues. It is composed of more than one type of cells and they are of two types, xylem and phloem. Xylem, it functions as conducting tissues for water and mineral and it provides mechanical support. Next, we came to know that it consists of four types of cells: trachea, vessels, xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. You can see here this is trachea and this is vessel, which already we understood in the previous class. Tracheae, elongated dead cells and they are having tapering ends. Tapering means you can see pointed ends they are having, and the function is conduction of water as well as providing mechanical support. Vessels, they are dead, and important one is presence of vessel is a characteristic feature of angiosperm, and in case of gymnosperm vessels are absent. It is very important. Here also vessels, it is helping for the upward conduction of water and it is also providing mechanical support. Next is xylem fiber, which is also known as wood fiber, and they are sclerenchyma cells and they are pointed and elongated and they are having lignin in their walls and they are providing mechanical support. And the next one is xylem parenchyma, which is also known as wood parenchyma. It is associated with the parenchyma, that's why it is called xylem parenchyma, and this xylem parenchyma is living and these cells are made up of cellulose and the function is upward conduction of water and it is also helping in the storage of food in the form of starch and fat. That also we understood in the previous class. This part is very important, protoxylem and metaxylem, isn't it? What is protoxylem? Two types of xylems are there, protoxylem and metaxylem. Protoxylem, first form xylem, metaxylem, later form xylem, isn't it? It is, protoxylem is comparatively less prominent, it is quite prominent and it is made up of smaller and narrower elements and it is formed of broader and larger elements. Protoxylem is very important. In the figure itself I have shown you, this is metaxylem, isn't it? And here you can see the protoxylem, the smaller are protoxylem, these are protoxylem, this is metaxylem. And that is the difference between protoxylem and metaxylem. And again there are two types of xylems, that is endarch and exarch. It is based on the position of protoxylem and metaxylem. If the protoxylem is towards the pith or center, we can say it is endarch. Metaxylem will be towards the periphery. It takes place always in the stem. And if the protoxylem is towards the periphery and metaxylem is towards the center, it is always taking place in the root, and such condition if it is taking place, it is called as exarch condition. So, that is related to endarch and exarch, which is also important. You have to study it in the previous class. I think you would have gone through it and you have understood it. Number 2 is phloem. That also we understood in the previous class. It is composed of 4 types of cells: sieve tube elements, companion cells, phloem fiber and phloem parenchyma. In the case of gymnosperm, phloem is of phloem fibers, albuminous cells and sieve cells. So, in the case of gymnosperm, phloem fibers, albuminous cells and sieve cells are present there, whereas sieve tubes and companion cells are absent. Okay, my dear children. Next part, you can see here the first one, sieve tube elements. In the case of sieve tube elements also we understood that it is a living elongated thin walled cells, and these cells are separated by sieve plates. Here you can see sieve plates are there. This is sieve tube, isn't it? And with the near to the sieve tube we can see the companion cells, and sucrose is loaded into the sieve tube by active transport. Next one is companion cells. They are living cells and they are adjacent to the sieve tube members, and the function is they support sieve tube members, and they are also helping for the maintenance of pressure gradient in the sieve tube. They are helping to maintain the pressure gradient in the sieve tube. That is a function of companion cell. Next one is phloem fiber. They are sclerenchymatous cells, and therefore they are called phloem fibers. They are narrow, elongated, and you can see there it is been said that these are the strengthening and supporting cells. Phloem fibers are strengthening and they are supporting cells. That is related to fiber. Phloem fiber, you can see this is phloem fiber. Okay. Next one we understood about phloem parenchyma. It is a living parenchymatous cell, and it is seen in between the sieve tubes, and they are mainly for storage of organic food. So, that is related to, so you can see parenchyma cells, this is sieve tube, isn't it? So, they are mainly associated with living parenchyma cells, and they are in between the sieve tubes, and they are meant for storage of organic food. So, that is related to phloem parenchyma. So, and next one we also understood about the 2 types of phloem, protophlloem and metaphlloem. Protophlloem is the part of primary phloem, and protophlloem we can say that sieve tube members are without companion cells, they are narrow, and in the case of metaphlloem they are surviving for a longer period, and next one they are having broader sieve tubes in them. So, that is related to protophlloem and metaphlloem. It is very important, my dear children, you have to study it. So, I think till here we understood in our previous class. Today we are going to learn and understand about tissue systems. A group of tissues performing a similar function is called tissue system. Group of tissue which is performing similar function is called tissue system. On the basis of structure and location, there are 3 types of tissue system. Basis of structure and location, where it is located and what is the structure of the tissue. Based on that, tissue system is of 3 type. Number 1, epidermal tissue system. Number 2, ground or fundamental tissue system, and number 3, vascular or conducting tissue system. So, these are the 3 types of tissue system. You can see in the figure, you can see here plant tissue, this is the plant tissue, and epidermal, that is dermal tissue system, this one is the ground tissue system, and this one is the vascular tissue system. In case of vascular tissue system we can see xylem and phloem. So, that is related to the 3 types of tissue system. Now, we are going to study in deep related to each tissue system. The first one is epidermal tissue system. It forms the outermost covering of the plant body, and it is composed of epidermis, stomata and epidermal appendages. Epidermal tissue system, it forms the outermost covering of the plant body, and it is having epidermis, stomata as well as epidermal appendages. You can see in the figure this part, this is the outermost covering of the plant body, and this is called dermal tissue or epidermis or epidermal tissue. So first one is epidermis. In the case of epidermal tissue system, it is outermost layer of the plant body. It is formed of elongated living parenchyma. So epidermis is composed of living parenchyma. It is single layered. It is single layered. And in the case of root, the epidermis of the root is called epiblema. This is important. Next one, it has been said that outside the epidermis there is a waxy layer or waxy coating, and that is called cuticle. You can see here, this is epidermis. This one is single layer, this is epidermis, and this epidermis is covered by a waxy layer, and that is called cuticle. And this cuticle is absent in roots. It is absent in roots. Next, second one is stomata. It is a part of epidermal tissue system. Stomata, these are minute pores present in the leaf of the plant. Each stoma is guarded by two bean shaped cells called guard cells. You can see these two are the bean shaped structure cells, and they are called guard cells. And guard cells, they bear chloroplast. Guard cells, they are having chloroplast in them. And what is the function of guard cell? It regulates the opening and closing of stomata. This is important. Guard cells, they are regulating the opening and closing of stomata. So what are stomata? Stomata, they are the minute pores seen on the leaf, isn't it? And number two, each stoma, it is guarded by two bean shaped cells. They are called guard cells. You can see here two guard cells are there, and these guard cells, they are having or they bear chloroplast, and the function of guard cell is to regulate the opening and closing of stomata. In dicot, the guard cells are bean shaped, and in monocot, the guard cells are dumbbell shaped. You can see here it is dumbbell shaped. So this is monocot stomata, and this is dicot stomata. Now, the epidermal cells associated with guard cells are called subsidiary cells or accessory cells, isn't it? You can see here, this is subsidiary cells. So this is the epidermal cell which is being surrounding the guard cells. These are the two guard cells, and it is being surrounded by epidermal cell. They are called subsidiary cell or accessory cell. Now, stomatal aperture, guard cell and subsidiary cells are together called stomatal aperture or stomatal complex. This is again important. So what is stomatal aperture or stomatal complex? It is stomatal aperture. This is stomatal aperture. Then guard cell. This is the guard cell, and then the subsidiary cell. So the stomatal aperture, the guard cell and the subsidiary cell together is called stomatal aperture or stomatal complex. And the function of stomata, it helps in transpiration and it helps in gaseous exchange. Again, it is important, my dear children, you have to study it. So that is about stomata. And the third part of the epidermal tissue system is epidermal appendages. They are of two types, root hairs and trichome. The root hairs, they are also the epidermal hair on the root, and trichomes, they are the epidermal hair on the stem. So the epidermal hair present on the stem is called trichome, and the epidermal hair present on the root is called root hair. You can see here, this is root hair, it is seen in the root, and this is the trichome, these are seen on the stem. So that is related to epidermal appendages. This trichome is very, very important. Now, number 2 is ground tissue system. Tissues except epidermis and vascular bundles constitute the ground tissue. That is, in the stem or root, epidermis is there as well as vascular bundles are there. Other than these tissues, there are certain other tissues present there in the stem as well as root of the plant, and those tissues are called ground tissues. And these ground tissues consist of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma types of cells. In leaves, ground tissue is composed of thin walled chlorenchyma cells, and they are called mesophyll. In the case of leaves, ground tissues are present there, and they are together called mesophyll cells. So, that is the description of ground tissue, and the third one is vascular tissue system. It consists of vascular bundles, and vascular bundles is formed of xylem and phloem. So, what are vascular bundles? Xylem and phloem together constitute the vascular bundle, and the vascular bundle is a part of vascular tissue system. You can see the classification of vascular bundle. Vascular bundle, it may be open or closed, and it is of two type, radial, conjoint. In the case of conjoint, it is of three type, collateral, bicollateral and concentric. In the case of concentric, it is of two type, that is amphicribal and amphivessel. This is not so important, but you have to study till concentric. So, again I will repeat the classification of vascular bundle. Vascular bundle may be open or closed. It is of two type, radial as well as conjoint. Conjoint is of three type, collateral, bicollateral and concentric. We are going to study in deep related to vascular bundles. You can see here vascular bundles. Number 1 I told you, conjoint, radial and conjoint, isn't it, as well as concentric. In the case of radial, it is been given as xylem and phloem are present on different radii alternating with each other. Xylem, this is the radial vascular bundle, this is xylem, this is phloem, xylem, phloem, xylem, phloem. In this way, xylem and phloem are present there. We can say the vascular bundle is radial, okay, and it is seen in monocot as well as dicot roots. In the case of monocot and dicot roots, we can see radial vascular bundles. Number 2 is conjoint. Xylem and phloem are present on the same radius in the bundle. Xylem and phloem are present on the same radius, isn't it? So, conjoint, you can see xylem and phloem, they are present on the same radius in one bundle. This is one bundle, you can see here phloem and this is xylem. Such type of arrangement of xylem and phloem is coming under conjoint type of vascular bundle, and this type of vascular bundle we can see in all stems. In all stems we can see conjoint vascular bundle, okay. Now, in the case of conjoint vascular bundle, we can see again two types, collateral and bicollateral. You can see collateral and bicollateral. In the case of collateral vascular bundle, xylem plays towards the inside and phloem towards outside. Xylem is inside, it will be coming inside, and phloem will be towards outside. This type of arrangement of xylem and phloem is coming under collateral type of vascular bundle, and in the collateral type of vascular bundle we can say it may be open or closed. And what is open collateral vascular bundle? If cambium is present between the xylem and phloem, we can say it is collateral, open. That is, you can see this one is open, this is cambium. Cambium means it is a meristematic zone or meristematic tissue where always cells will be dividing and multiplying. So, this is the active zone where the cells will be dividing and multiplying. So, as cambium is present between phloem and xylem, surely this bundle is open. So, such type of open bundle is coming under collateral, and number 2 is closed. Cambium is absent between xylem and phloem, isn't it? So, here you can see no cambium is present there, only xylem and phloem is present there. So, in this case cambium is absent. Such type of vascular bundle is called closed vascular bundle. So, two types of vascular bundles are there on the presence of or absence of cambium. One is closed vascular bundle, the other one is open vascular bundle. The closed vascular bundle is defined as cambium is absent in between xylem and phloem, and the open vascular bundle is defined as cambium is present in between xylem and phloem. This is the characteristic feature of dicot and gymnosperm, and closed is the characteristic feature of the stems of monocot. The stems of monocot. In the monocot stems we can see closed vascular bundle. In the case of stems of dicot and gymnosperms, we can see open type of vascular bundle. So, that is related to collateral. Now, next one is bicollateral. Phloem occurs on both the outer and inner side of xylem. When the phloem is present in the both outer and inner, two types of phloems we can see. One is seen in the outer side, the other one is seen in the inner side, and xylem is in between these two phloem. Such type of arrangement of vascular bundle is termed as bicollateral, and it is seen in Cucurbitaceae family. In the Cucurbitaceae family, this type of vascular bundle we can see. The third one is concentric. Xylem and phloem are present in concentric circles one around the other in some stems. In certain stems, xylem and phloem they are present, but they are present in a concentric circle around one another. So, you can see here this is concentric, isn't it? This one is phloem, this one is xylem, or we can say this one is xylem and this one is phloem. So, one above one around the other, xylem or phloem will be present there in a concentric way. Such type of vascular bundle is called concentric vascular bundle. I think, my dear children, you would have understood about vascular bundle. The important one is radial vascular bundle, conjoint vascular bundle. In conjoint, collateral and bicollateral is important. In the collateral, open and closed is important, as well as concentric. This part till here it is important. No need to go through this one. So, this part is very important, my dear children. You have to go through it, and you have to go through the figures related to vascular bundle. These figures are very important. I think you would have understood about the vascular bundles seen in the stems and roots of the plant. Now, as we have gone through the description or the technical terms related to stems and roots, now we are going to study the anatomy of dicot and monocot plant. That means, we are going to study the internal structure of dicot as well as monocot plant. So, first we are going to study with dicot root. In the dicot root, what all things we can see, we can study that a thin transverse section, that is TS, or cross section, that is CS, of dicot root shows three distinct region. When the root is taken, when it is been cut, in the as TS or as CS, we can see the three distinct region, but this three distinct region is being shown as epidermis, cortex, endodermis and stelar region. The main part is epidermis, cortex and stele. Epidermis, cortex and stele are the three distinct region we can see in the case of the dicot root. The first one is epidermis. It is outermost layer. Stomata and cuticle are absent. In the case of root, already we understood that epidermis will be there, but stomata and cuticle are absent. So, this is the CS and this is the TS. Okay, my dear children, this is the TS and this is the CS. In the first case, it has been said that the epidermis is present there, isn't it? Epidermis is present there. This is the epidermis, but in the epidermis, stomata and cuticle are absent. Now, number 2 is cortex. It consists of thin walled several layers of parenchyma cells. This is cortex. You can see this part. This is cortex. Okay. This part is cortex. This is cortex, and it is having several layers of parenchyma cells. Now, the next one you can see, that is endodermis. Endodermis is the innermost layer of cortex. In the cortex, endodermis is the innermost. So, from here till here you can see cortex, and the next layer you can see this one. This is endodermis. Okay, here you can see this part. This is endodermis. This one is endodermis. I think you would have understood what is endodermis. It is the innermost layer of cortex. The walls of this layer are thickened due to the deposition of water impermeable waxy material called suberin. This one is very important. Suberin is present there in the walls of the endodermis. So, it is impervious to water. Then water may not be moving into the endodermis because of the deposition of water impermeable waxy material called suberin. Suberin is a waxy material which is present on the walls of endodermis, and due to that water will not enter into the endodermis. These thickenings are called Casparian strips. So, the thickening which has been taking place there in the endodermis, these thickenings are called Casparian strips or Casparian thickening. This is important again. Some of the endodermis cells remain thin walled, and such cells are called passage cells, and these cells allow the passage of water from cortical cells to xylem. Cortical cells means from cortex to the xylem. So, in the case of endodermis, we can see in the case of endodermis certain part are very thin, and through this area what happens? The water will be moving into the xylem. This is xylem, isn't it? This is protoxylem and this one is metaxylem. So, from this area the water enters into the xylem, and these area or these thin cells are called passage cells. These passage cells are present in the some of the regions of endodermis. I think you would have understood about it, my dear children. Now, the third region is stele, and it is the central portion of the root, and it consists of pericycle, vascular bundles, pith and conjunctive tissues. Stele, it is the central portion of the root, and it is having pericycle, vascular bundle, pith and conjunctive tissues. So, pericycle, vascular bundle, pith and conjunctive tissues constitute the stelar region. Stelar region is the central portion of the root. Okay, my dear children, you can see here. This is stelar region, this one is stelar region, this is pericycle, this is the vascular bundles, and this the center part is the pith. Okay, that is here we cannot see the pith because completely covered by xylem. So, this is pericycle, vascular bundle and the pith as well as the conjunctive tissues present here, they are constituting the stelar region. I think you would have understood about that portion very clearly. The first one is pericycle. It lies inner to the endodermis. Near to the, after the endodermis we can see the pericycle. Lateral roots arise from pericycle. Vascular cambium arise from pericycle. That is important. So, from pericycle lateral roots and vascular cambium will be arising. That is the importance of pericycle. Number 2. Part which is present there in the stelar region is vascular bundle, which is very important. In the case of dicot root, the vascular bundles are radial. Already we studied about what is radial. Xylem and phloem forms separate bundles. They will be seen on separate radii. The bundles will be 2 to 4 in numbers. We can see the bundles in the form of 2 to 4. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 bundles, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, 4 xylem, 4 phloem. So, 2 to 4 bundles we can see in the case of dicot root vascular bundle. Xylem is exarch, that is protoxylem lies towards the periphery and metaxylem lies towards the center. Already I told you in the figure, that is it has been said that xylem is exarch. So, we can see here the protoxylem, they are lying towards the periphery, towards the outside, and metaxylem are seen towards the center. So, this type of arrangement of xylem is known as exarch condition. I think you would have understood about it, my dear children, properly. So, that is about the vascular bundle, and then comes the conjunctive tissues. It consists of parenchymatous cells. It consists of, these are the conjunctive tissues, we can see here parenchymatous cells, and it is found between xylem and phloem. This is xylem, this is phloem, these are the conjunctive tissues. Xylem, phloem, conjunctive tissues. Xylem, phloem, conjunctive tissues, isn't it? So, conjunctive tissues are seen in between the xylem and phloem. The next one is pith. It is small, only this is the pith, very small, may or may not present in the dicot root. So, that is the anatomy of dicot root. I think you would have understood very clearly about dicot root, my dear children. The figure as well as the description you have to study related to dicot root. Number 2 is monocot root. When a transverse section of monocot root is taken, again we can see 3 distinct regions: epidermis, cortex and stele. In the case of cortex, we can see endodermis also. In the case of epidermis, composed of single layer of cell. So, here again we can see single layer of cell. In the case of cortex, it consists of parenchymatous cell. This is cortex, parenchymatous cells. Okay. Now, the next one is related to the endodermis. In the case of endodermis, as it has been said, it is the innermost layer of the cortex. In the case of monocot root also, Casparian strip is present there. In the case of monocot root, in the endodermis, passage cells are present there, which is allowing the passage of water into the xylem. Then next is the stelar region. It constitutes pericycle, vascular bundle, conjunctive tissue and pith. In the case of pericycle, parenchymatous, and it is single layered. Vascular bundle, again in the case of monocot root, it is radial. Xylem is exarch, but the difference we can see there, it is polyarch in condition. In the case of dicot root, only 2 to 4 vascular bundles are present there, but in the case of monocot root, polyarch condition is there. And what is polyarch? More than 6 xylem bundles we can see in the vascular bundle. More than 6 xylem bundle, if it is present there, it is called polyarch condition. It is very, very important. So, that is the difference between dicot root and monocot root in the case of vascular bundles. Okay, the similarity we have seen as radial and xylem is exarch. In both the cases, it is same. But in the case of the presence of number of xylem, in the case of dicot root, 2 to 4 xylem bundles are present there. But in the case of monocot root, more than 6 xylem bundles are present there. Next one is conjunctive tissue, parenchymatous cells, and they are found in between xylem and phloem. In the case of monocot root, the pith is large and secondary growth is absent in monocot root. In monocot root, no secondary growth is taking place. So, this is the structure of monocot root. This is the TS of monocot root, where we can see root hair as well as epiblema. The epidermis of root is called epiblema. This is the cortex region. This is made up of parenchymatous cells, and this is endodermis, where we can see Casparian strip as well as passage cells, and then comes the pericycle, and later on we can see the vascular bundles. This is xylem and this is phloem. Xylem, phloem, xylem, phloem, they are seen in radial, alternate to each other. So, this is radial vascular bundle, and here xylem is exarch, that is protoxylem is towards the periphery and metaxylem is towards the center, isn't it? And conjunctive tissues are present there in between the xylem and phloem, and this one is the pith, which is larger. You can see the center part of the root is constituting the pith and it is larger. So, that is related to the transverse section anatomy of monocot root. I think you would have understood it very clearly, my dear children. Now, the difference between dicot root and monocot root. In the case of monocot root, we can see numerous vascular bundles. In the case of dicot, varies from 2 to 4, isn't it? It is, we can say it has polyarch condition. Here cambium is absent in the case of monocot root, but here cambium appears as secondary meristem at the time of secondary growth. So, in the case of dicot root, cambium will appear for the secondary growth, but in the case of monocot, cambium is absent. In the case of monocot, xylem vessels are large, more or less circular. Here they are smaller and polygonal in shape. Here secondary growth is absent. Here due to the development of cambium, surely secondary growth will be taking place. In the case of monocot, pith is well developed as We have said just now it is large, here it is small or absent. The pericycle gives rise to roots only, here it gives rise to lateral roots and cambium. The inner wall of the endoderm is considerably thickened to give U-shaped appearance. Thickening is not prominent and due to the presence of Casparian strip. In the case of dicot, Casparian strip is present there, that is why thickening is not prominent. So, that is related to the difference between dicot and monocot root. This is again very important, my dear children, you have to study it. Next one is related to the anatomy of dicot stem. So, we have gone through dicot root, monocot root. Now, the third one is dicot stem. When we have taken the transverse section of the dicot stem, the following structures are seen there, that is epidermis, cortex. In the cortex, hypodermis is present there, general cortex is there. In the cortex itself, we can see endodermis, isn't it? And then stellar region is present there, and you can see medullary rays are present there, and the last is the pith. The first one is epidermis. It is outermost layer, it is made of single layers of cells and it lacks chloroplast. Multicellular hairs and stomata are found on the epidermis. In the case of stem, when we are taking the TS of stem, surely we can see the epidermis. This is the epidermal layer and it is outermost layer and it is single cell and it is having multicellular hair as well as stomata are present there. In the case of stem, stomata we can see, isn't it? Next one is cortex. It can be divided into three regions: hypodermis, general cortex and endodermis. Hypodermis, it is just present below the epidermis. This one, this is the layer, this layer. This is epidermis, this is hypodermis. Number 2, general cortex. This lies internal to hypodermis and consists of few layers of thin walled parenchymatous cells, and storage of food is the main function of cortex. The main function of cortex, isn't it? This is cortex. The main function of cortex is, that is this one, this part, this is cortex. The main function of cortex is the storage of food. Next one is endodermis. It is the innermost layer of cortex. So, endodermis, this is the part endodermis, this is endodermis, or here we can see this one, this wavy layer which you can see here, this is endodermis. So, that is related to the regions of cortex in the case of dicot stem. Now, the cells of endodermis are with starch grain, therefore, this layer is also called starch sheath. In the case of endodermis in dicot stem, they are having starch grain, therefore, that layer is also called starch sheath. The next one is the stellar region. Here again pericycle, vascular bundle and the pith are the main or important part. Pericycle, it is sclerenchymatous, that is it is having sclerenchyma cell. It forms a bundle cap as it is seen as small patches. Pericycle is seen in the form of a bundle cap in the case of dicot stem. The vascular bundle is very important in the case of dicot stem. It is composed of xylem, phloem and cambium. Dicot stem, the vascular bundle constitute xylem, phloem and cambium. The vascular bundles possess following characters. Number 1, vascular bundles, they are limited in number. The bundles are arranged in the ring. They are limited in number and the bundles are arranged in ring. These are the vascular bundles you can see, and they are arranged in ring. They are limited in number and they are arranged in ring. I think you would have understood about it. Next one, bundles are conjoined. Conjoined means xylem and phloem in the same bundle. We have seen, and they are collateral also, that is xylem and phloem are in the same radius, and these bundles are open as cambium is present in between xylem and phloem. And the last one is xylem is endark, that is protoxylem is lying towards the center. So, these are the peculiarity of vascular bundles in the case of dicot stem. It is very important, you have to study it, my dear children. The bundles are conjoined, collateral, they are open and xylem is endark. So, you can see in the figure itself, same radius, they are open, and end arc, it has been said that protoxylem is facing towards the pith and metaxylem is facing towards the outside. As protoxylem is facing towards the pith and metaxylem towards the outside, this type of arrangement of the xylem is called end arc condition. So, in the case of dicot stem, we can see end arc condition. In the case of dicot root or monocot root, we can see as xylem is exarch in condition. Exarch condition is to dicot root or monocot root. End arc condition is to dicot stem. I think you would have understood about end arc and exarch as well as collateral, conjoint and open. This is very, very important. Next one is medullary rays, or it is also called pith rays. This is also important. The radially elongated parenchyma cells present between two adjacent vascular bundles radiating from the pith is called medullary rays. So, what are medullary rays? They are radially elongated parenchyma cells and they are seen in between xylem and phloem, and they are formed from the pith, and when they will be formed from the pith, they will be moving towards the xylem and phloem. In between the xylem and phloem, we can see two bundles of xylem and phloem. We can see the medullary rays. Okay, now, so here in this picture, you can see here in between the two bundle, this is where we can see medullary rays. Between two bundles, we can see medullary rays. So, this is the medullary rays, and from here it will be originating from the pith region, it will be originating and moving towards the between the bundles of xylem and phloem. So, that is related to medullary rays. And the last one is pith. It is the central part of the stele and is very large. The central part of the pith, the stele and is very large. You can see it is very large in the case of dicot stem. This is the part which is very large and it is taken the central part. Okay. So, that is related to the pith region of dicot stem. My dear children, I think you would have understood today's session very clearly. My dear children, go through today's topic 2 to 3 times and find out the difficulties where you are not able to understand. Give me a call and clarify your doubts. So, I am going to wind up this session here. In the next session, we will be meeting again. Till then, take care.